My name is Carmen and this is my video out. My name is Carmen Carrera. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I identify as a transgender heterosexual woman with a powerful queer and drag experience. My life didn't start after my transition, but my life before my transition counts, not more, just the same. Yeah, because it's important to acknowledge the whole journey, you know? I'm from a very small town in New Jersey. It's called Elmwood Park. And Elmwood Park is basically in Bergen County, and it's on the border of Passaic County, which is considered to be like a little bit more urban influenced, I guess. And living in North Jersey, you have a huge influence of New York City, because we're about 7 to 10 miles outside of Upper Manhattan. So I grew up with many diverse people in my high school. I was probably like one of the kids that, I guess, I don't know if I was a cool kid. Yeah, I was a cool kid, but I was like a quiet cool kid. You know, I was always the one that like, you would feel my admiration for you before you thought to like bully me or anything, because I just was in love with everybody and everything. I was going to school in Paterson, New Jersey, and this school is called St. Gerard, and I was in kindergarten. And all I remember about my past, honestly, like my childhood like that, I just remember experiencing. I don't remember gender. And I remember I had a crush on this boy named Anthony. And I didn't think about myself as male or female. It's very odd. Like I don't remember ever thinking about that until I decided to go up to Anthony and give him a kiss on the cheek. And it was just like from my whole like heart, like it was not, you know, anything like creepy, because I don't know, I think people demonize LGBT people all the damn time, but I remember vividly I loved this little kid, and it was because of the way he made me feel like happy, like, so I was like, oh my god, I want to give him a kiss on the cheek, and I did, and that got me into a ton of trouble. His reaction was like, ew, like if I was a girl. So for me, I felt like the vibe that I got from him was like, oh shit, like, you know, like, ew, like what does that mean? Like question mark, you know? And then I remember my mom coming in and having a meeting with the nuns and stuff, because it was Catholic school, like hello. And I'm over here, like they're probably looking at me like I'm like spawn of like Judas or something, like, you know, I don't know, kissing this boy, like oh my gosh, you know, like is that, you know, whatever. First grade I was in public school, because they were like, obviously we can't have this here. And I do remember looking up to like my sister and stuff, and like almost like wanting to like wear her clothes, but like understanding subconsciously because of that experience in kindergarten that like, you know, boys do certain things and girls do certain things, and this is how society is built. And you know, I sat back and I thought to myself like, well gosh, can I just wake up as a girl? Like, you know, like I felt like very confused, like why can't I wear these things? But at the same time, I didn't really question or put up a fight, because that wasn't me, you know, like I wasn't necessarily like a born fighter, you know, like I was just very okay, like that's fine. Through like, I guess first grade to like sixth grade, I was like learning that being gay was not a good thing. Being trans was worse. There was a certain life or like code to live by in order to have a good life, in order for people to love you or to be received in a way that people think that you're great. You know, there were like rules and a way to go about it. So that was really what inspired me to like, I guess, become the observer, like to be like, okay, well, how, you know, if this is what my life's gonna be, then I'll give it a shot. Like, okay, I'll be a gay man. What's the problem with being a gay boy? Like, that's cool, like whatever. So yeah, so I was fine, you know, but I always still felt in the back of my mind like my life would be so much easier if I could just be a girl. My father passed away when I was 2, and he died from HIV and AIDS complications from drug use and things like that in the 80s. And my mom was like really nervous for me to go out to New York City, and like there was always this like heavy like stigma around like being safe. And I think the 90s media influenced the culture to like have this like the plague feeling, and my mom would tell me that she'd go visit my dad, and and like in the hospitals and stuff, and they would like quarantine him, and like it was just a process just to get to him. And like sharing utensils was like considered to be like a risk. I was so scared. I didn't want my mom to feel any fear about me. I didn't want her to feel like she's gonna lose her kid to like a disease or something crazy. This was the path that I was taking, and I'm gonna discover who I am, and this is the person I'm gonna be around, and it's okay. And she was cool, and that was my way to sort of come out to her, is to say like, oh, my friend Jimmy, like I'm kind of like him too, like I don't know, like. And I wasn't honest with my gender because I felt like it might have been too much for her. And she was a little confused, like more about the fact that I didn't tell her, I wasn't honest with her, that I was putting myself sort of at risk without, consulting with her and like letting her like guide me as a parent. I sort of thought, well, I'm 18, I got my diploma, all right, made everyone happy, deuce, I'm out. I'm gonna do my own thing, and she didn't like that, and I love my mom for that reason, because she made me feel like we can still have our bonds, like just because I'm LGBT doesn't mean that anything is gonna change. I'm still her kid. I ran off to New York City because that's where I heard all of the gay people were in a place called the Village. And I'm like, I've got to go to the Village, and I need to find where these folks are so that I could get to know them and they can meet me and we're going to be best friends forever. Like, this was literally my intention. And I went out to the city. I found the group of kids that I thought were super cool, and they showed me around. They introduced me to Christopher Street, the piers, and I would escape from New Jersey, and go into the big dangerous city to find my friends, and it was the best time of my life. There'd be like literally, I think it was like close to like 1,000 people that would come out every weekend from New York and New Jersey and would gather up on the Christopher Street pier and walk up and down Christopher Street in like crowds of people. I'd never seen anything like this. I don't think I've ever experienced the level of freedom, just being around people who were unafraid to be themselves, and understood that it was something that was natural. It wasn't like, I don't know, anything crazy or what I thought, what I gathered from my upbringing, like what I thought about gay people, was just like, no, they're actually just like me, or we actually are so in common, we just click. And I was so happy that I found a crowd in New York City that were all LGBT and queer people. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. It's like a festival, like every Saturday and Sunday. And I remember just like being curious about where I can find more people like this, because I felt finally like free and I can be myself. Probably one of my challenges was to allow myself to be feminine, because I knew from the gay scene that being feminine was not a good thing. And you had to be like masculine, straight looking in order to have guys like want you, so that you could be in a position to like pick who you want to date. So I always suppressed that side of me, but it always came through so much that like other people can pick up on it. And I was able to use the stage as a way for me to express the femininity that I was always suppressing, and also be powerful in that. Drag Race came, and I knew that I wanted to transition. That's a big secret. I don't really tell people that, but I knew I wanted to transition before Drag Race. I literally just went there just to like do my best, compete a little bit, and have something to like remember myself by. And I just wanted a chance to show the world what I've done and remember where I was at that time. So I did Drag Race, and my entire life changed. I was able to be the Grand Marshal of the San Francisco Pride Parade. I was able to start my transition. I was able to afford my transition. Gosh, I was able to travel the world. But I would say it was sort of like a gift and a curse, because I was transitioning at the same time. So I had a lot of super highs, like being on stage and being entertaining and having opportunity and doors open for me. And I had a modeling contract after Drag Race, and you know, everything was just like, all of my dreams were coming true, but I couldn't really enjoy it because the outside world was a very scary place. Like, it was the scariest place ever. This was like pre me being like anywhere in mainstream, pre Laverne Cox. Like, this was just like probably the end of what so much, like what the real fear of what so many LGBT people have gone through before social media happened and before like trying to educate people ever happened. It was like we were living amongst the thickest like veil of adversity that like you can feel it when you walk in a room. It was like the unspoken thing, you know. It was and we just grew accustomed to like floating through the world until we can get to the next safest place. I look great in drag, but that was a fantasy, you know. My real life was like traveling through airport security, having, you know, my identification not match, you know, my presentation, dealing with, you know, getting like just invasive questions asked all the time, like feeling I'm not allowed to be in the space that I'm in, like at a nightclub or at an airport, or even around a lot of people. Like close friends. Like, things had just changed. I was known as this like successful drag queen that was on a TV show, that was touring, that, you know, was like daytime, like the gay makeup artist that had the MAC hookup, you know, at discount at the MAC store. And, you know, when I started to transition though, like there was change. It's like you can feel their like, I don't know what it is, hatred or like something, like, oh, like who does this person think they are? You know, like, where do they think they're going? Like, you're not a real girl. Like, why are you doing that for? Like, you know, it's like, it was just the worst. I felt like I can go out in the world and be loved by so many people, and people, you know, connect with people on like this great feeling level, and then come home and it's just like, I can't stand you that you're here. I kind of use it like as fuel though. I remember back then, like I would use it as fuel. Like, it's like everyone around me, like during my transition, and it sucks because I was away from like my mom and stuff, but everyone around me was like not letting me be proud of myself, like not letting me be happy. Like, I didn't have anyone in my corner that was like, was telling me like, wow, I'm proud of you, like for what you're doing, you know. And like, I was presented with this contract for elite models. Like, I just started my transition and I was starting to like take those steps, and like, you know, I was on CNN. I would walk into the airport, I'd see my face on CNN, but when I would come home, it would be like you're not welcome here. Like, what are you doing here? Like, what you're doing with your life is a disgrace, you know. And like, just thinking about it, like, it just, I can't believe that people would be that way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I can ever look at anyone who is trying to succeed against all odds with that type of like jealousy, or I don't even know like what you would call it, what the label, like what that label is, like what that would be. But it was like one of the worst. It was like a hard bittersweet. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, I just have to deal with this. It was just, every time I would leave to do a show was like an escape from hell. And so I just dove myself like straight into work, you know. Like, I just wanted to prove everyone wrong, and that fueled the fire for me. Like, I still feel it today. It's just a waste of time to be hateful. It's just a waste of time to want to tear other people down who are different than you, who want to succeed and have a dream. Like, it's a waste of time. I guess thanks to my fans, really, like everyone who came out to support me, threw dollars at me while I was on tour. Like, all those dollars added up to me getting my first place. And, you know, I paid for my transition. I had, you know, done what I needed to do medically and surgically or whatever I felt comfortable with. And I was like, fuck this, we're getting the fuck out of this hood and we are going to a very nice house. Like, that's what we did. So I picked up my husband and our kids and we're like, we're outie. And yeah, it was great. I felt like it was not easy. It was not easy. I had like an identity crisis. I didn't know who the heck I was. How do I date? What kind of woman am I? What are my values? Like, all I knew was how to like wake the kids up in the morning and bring them to school and, you know, make sure the house was clean and put on an amazing drag show and hope that, you know, someone will book me for modeling jobs. Like, I don't know, like some campaign or something. Like, I was just relaxed. I was, you know, thinking that my life was set. And to be thrusted into that contrast was hard. Like, I had to really dig deep and understand that, like, I'm gonna live with me for the rest of my life. And if I'm not happy with myself and I don't know myself and I'm not confident in myself, I'm gonna have a hard time. My purpose runs deeper, you know, than wanting to please people. And I have to figure out who I am so that I can continue to be saucy and swaggy. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, the drip doesn't stop because you're LGBT. If you are a drippy person, or if you are a fly, confident person, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or LGBT or non-LGBT. Like, you have that magic in you. So you have to discover a way to still be in your power and share your magic with others, aside from what the heck's going on in this crazy blue planet. Ooh. So my favorite part about being me is the feeling that I can be full and complete and in my power without having to hurt anyone else and without having to hurt myself. Also being able to look at myself in the mirror and be like, I love you. Like, I love you so much. Like, you kick ass. Like, you are badass. If anyone says anything about me now, I don't even care. It's like, that's more about that person. I learned that that's more about them than me. You can be trans, you can be powerful, you can have, you know, the biggest heart, and you can still succeed by strengthening your spirit and staying connected to your soul. There's so much love out in the world for us, and the love that we can give to others is unmeasurable and it's infinite, you know? And if we remember that, we will be okay. No matter any drama that we go through, no matter the tears that may fall, it's fine. Like, let them come, you know? Let them come, build yourself up, be strong. There's a reason why people want us to think that we're not powerful, and it's because we are. And it's because our power makes people question theirs. And if we work for the good, I think that we can change so many people's lives. We as queer people, like, that's what we're here to teach the world, you know, because cis folks get stuck in this routine and this programming that doesn't allow them to be individual, doesn't allow them to be wild in their expression of, you know, their own spirit, because they're so attached to, like, well, I've got to express this type of way only, and if I deviate from that, you know, I'm gonna lose love, or I'm gonna lose attention, or I'm gonna lose, period. So I've got to stay this one way. And we're out here just being as free as we're ever going to be, because we appreciate the tiniest things. If we get a little basement nightclub where we could do our drag shows and drink and love each other, we're going to be okay with that. So many times in my life has not made sense. You know, back in kindergarten, and not understanding why I can't kiss boys. In public school, not understanding why I can't express myself in a feminine way, why I can't wear girls' clothes. In the gay community, like, same thing. Why can't I be feminine in my expression? You know, and then in the cis community, like, why can't I be trans? What's the big deal? So for so many times in my life, I felt like everything's wrong. Why is everything wrong? Like, is it me? Like, sometimes I felt like defeated, like what this whole world is telling me, like, is it true? You know? And that's what sort of forces me back into my story, to like remember the times that like I felt like life was great and life did make sense and life was working out for me, you know, and I was receiving the love that I was giving out. I think it's important for us to look back and remember all of our struggles and remember that it's all part of our journey, and we can do it, just you and I, like, you know, just sitting together and sharing our experiences and talking about these things. Like, I've had epiphanies, like talking to other queer people, like, whoa, like, you go through that too? Like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about it because I didn't talk about it. So that keeps me like my story intact, because I remember it, you know, I remember it all, because it's gotten me here right now to where I can be this confident and I can be this sure of myself, and the conviction of who I am comes through everything I do. Like, I don't have to worry about proving myself. I don't have to worry about like proving to you that you're wrong for being, you know, mean to me for who I am. Like, I don't even have to do that. I can actually choose to be completely in my power and shine, and you'll get the message. If we keep coming and we keep being creative and we keep slaying and we keep doing what it is we came to do, like, all this adversity is going to change. Like, it's like, it's not going to take one person. It's not just going to take a Carmen Carrera or a Janet Mock or just one Laverne Cox or just one India Moore or just one Angelica Ross or just one Caitlyn Jenner. Like, it's going to take a lot of us. It's going to take millions of us, you know? And we have to like band together and like fix our shit so that we can like fix other shit, so that we could like fucking shine and like love each other and like make the best of it. We should just figure our shit out and get to a place where we can tap into who we are, so that we can have a tighter knit humanity. That's what I see. That's what I want. So thank you. I just want to thank you guys for watching, and thank you for coming and interviewing me. Can I just say that it's 11/11 and it's Mercury retrograde. So the fact that I'm talking about my story during Mercury retrograde is crazy. It's crazy. I can't even talk. I have speech impediment right now. Anyways,